welcome. Hi, guys. I'm just going to take a few minutes and just say hello. So we're going to test the audio. Can everybody hear me? If you can, raise your hand or put it in the chat box or just say yes. I just want to make sure everybody can hear me clearly. Anybody, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Thank you. Who's who's this?
This is Kim in Weatherford, Texas.
Welcome, Kim in Texas. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm glad to be here.
Good to have you here as well. So we're just going to wait for a few minutes while everybody is joining on board. We'll get started in about 4 or 5 minutes. So Kim, tell me, what drew you to today's call?
Because I'm the best procrastinator in the world.
That's good to hear. We've mastered a skill that doesn't serve us.
Yeah, really. Yeah, it's the one I'm the best at, though, really.
Well, I mean, so what we're going to learn today is that is actually a result, okay? So we can change that, and we can really learn how to break that. So tell me if you broke this cycle, okay, so if we really broke through this barrier of procrastination, what kind of an impact would that have on your business and life?
Oh, both personal and business-wise, it would be monumental. I'm in direct sales, so every moment that I procrastinate costs me dollars. And it just keeps me further from retirement. So
yes.
Major impact.
Okay. And what do you think in your personal life? Like how would that shift or change in your personal life?
Well, maybe I wouldn't be embarrassed if somebody dropped in at my house because I didn't putting away the laundry or the floor cleaning or anything like that. You know,
gotcha.
Every way.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Procrastination is one of those things that really negatively impacts all of us, right? And it can put a lot of weight. Because I mean, just think about this for a second, right? Every time you come home, what does that do to your emotions and your energy level when you see things cluttered and piled up and not put away?
Overwhelmed.
Right?
That's one, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so then when we get an overwhelm, then that tends to shut us down more, or we become depressed, or we become withdrawn. And then that perpetuates more avoidance because we just can't handle it, which then perpetuates more anxiety and worry. And then we just kind of loop in this circle for a while, don't we?
Yeah, for sure. It's
cool.
An endless cycle.
Yeah. Well, let's break that for a second. It was an endless cycle that we are putting to an end.
I love the sound of that. Good.
Yes, we're going to nip that in the butt today if that's the last thing I do, Kim, okay?
Okay. I'm all for it. I'm on board.
Good. All right, so who else has joined us? So we got a handful of you on the line. I just want to kind of meet a couple of you while we're waiting. We're still got about 3 more minutes before I get started. A lot of people are going to be jumping on. I know that there's about 4 or 5 people that I'm still expecting. That I know that I'm expecting. So we want to make sure to give them space and time. So who else is here? It's brave enough to say hi. You guys are all muted. So if you're trying to say hi to me, know that I cannot hear you. You are all muted.
Hi, Bonnie.
Hi, Kathy. There. Hey, Kathy. How are you?
Good. Looking forward to your class.
Oh, wonderful. So is this Kathy Moody by chance? Oh,
yes.
Wonderful. Good to see you. I'm glad that you got the technology. And Jaya, it's good to see you as well.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
And the baby. She's got the baby. Love it. Awesome. Good. All right. So who else? Anybody else want to say hi? I would love to maybe have 1 or 2 other people want to say hello.
Hold on.
Hi there. How are you?
Say hi.
Awesome. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get started. For those people who are going to continue to join us, we'll get them on board as we're moving forward. We are recording, which is great, which means that this is going to be available for all of you afterwards. So if you end up having to jump off early, or if there's, or if I end up just really covering something today that you're like, oh my gosh, I need to go back to that. I really need to understand what she was saying around that. It's going to be available to all of you. So we're going to send out the link for you guys tomorrow. Once we get it processed and uploaded to the site, so you guys will have access to this as well. And then you'll be able to share it. So if there's somebody that you know that really could hear this message or learn from this, we love being supportive and being there for everyone in our community and everyone that you know that could use us as well. So I just want to welcome everybody for taking their lunch break with me. I know we got a lot of different time zones, but we just are really grateful that you're spending this time today to learn how to procrastinate no more. So we're going to talk about this cycle of self-sabotage and how we can break this cycle. And then also we're going to talk to you today about my 3-step process to really be able to mastering and overcoming this, what I'm going to call a bad habit. And the reason why we're going to refer to it as a bad habit is because just like any habit, it can be broken. And it just takes the right amount of leverage or pressure to be able to do so. So I'm going to teach you in 3 steps how to do that on the regular, so you guys can really work through this technique the whole way through. Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, I actually just want to start and introducing myself. My name is Bonnie Kelly. I am your emotional intelligence speaker, author, and coach. So for those of you who are not familiar with that term, emotional intelligence really is just your ability to not only identify and understand how your emotional set point is affecting, or I sometimes joke, infecting your actions, reactions, or in this case, inactions, as well as how it's affecting not only your production, your life, your business, but also how other people's emotions are impacting you as well. So to be emotionally intelligent is the ability to be able to not only navigate, but to manage and separate your emotions from your decisions. So this just gives us this ability to be less reactive and more interactive with our mental and emotional state. So that's what it means to be emotionally intelligent. So everything that I teach, whether it is from procrastination to fear, to insecurities, to forgiveness, all of it is under this umbrella. And what we're doing, or what I'm doing in this world, is I'm trying to spark an emotional revolution. And what I mean by that is just to wake the world up to a better way of living. Because the reality is when we can heal from our emotions and we can recognize how our emotions are driving behaviors like procrastination, and we can remove those triggers, we can truly become the best expression and the best version of ourselves. And then if you can imagine a world filled with people taking a mental and emotional responsibility, what kind of a place would that be to live in, right? It's just remarkable. So this is why I've made it my mission and purpose in life to help everyone learn the skills and the tools to change the inner world so we can influence and impact the outer world. So that is a little bit about me. I do want to remind you as we're getting started to remove any distractions. It is so easy, okay, for us to be watching this on your computer and to be scrolling on Facebook. Doing so, you're going to miss a nugget. You're gonna miss a key piece that could be the difference between ending this habit and not. So I highly recommend you to just be present for yourself right now. Be present with yourself and with me right now to try to remove any distractions that you can so you can be fully immersed in what we're about to learn and cover and where we're going to take this from here. So I do want to take a little bit more into sharing about who I am. I told you about my business and about my mission and what I do today. But I truly don't believe that that is the definer of what makes me the best teacher to help you. I truly believe it's not the education that I've had, the training, the certificates, any of these things that I've acquired that make me the most effective emotional intelligent teacher. Really, what I know to be true is that it is the fact that I was and did have to recover from a tremendous amount of adversity that has allowed me to invest, well, all my energy and attention into becoming the person that I am today. So I'm living proof of what is possible if you invest your time, effort, and energy into learning and mastering these skills. And the beautiful thing is it's a skill that anyone can learn. So from a very young age, okay, I was no stranger to dysfunction and abuse. Before I even graduated high school, I was a homeless teenager. I was addicted to drugs. I was in and out of jail. I was in and out of rehab. It's hard to imagine when you guys see me today. Like, anybody ever fathom that? I mean, this is the first time you're seeing me and the first time hearing this. I want to hear in the chat box. Would you have guessed that? Probably not. But I had a lot of sexual violence in my past, a lot of physical violence, a lot of emotional abuse. And so as a result, I was operating on these belief systems that I was worthless, that I had no purpose, and that I was not good enough. And so as a result, if you can imagine that having these kind of beliefs, like having these kind of beliefs about myself, well, that's what drives these decisions. And that's what drives these reactions. And so as a result, I became the epitome of that which I believed about myself. So I took jobs that were in alignment with me feeling and being worthless. I dated people that would validate me feeling and being worthless. I would get myself into trouble that would continue to validate this. And so to be able to transform from that self-loathing and that self-hatred and all of that trauma into this woman that not only has immense amounts of emotional and mental control, but to build an empire in my business, to have an amazing family that I do, to live the life and the lifestyle that I do, is living testimony of what's possible when we invest our time, effort, energy, finances, resources, whatever, into learning and mastering you. Because at the end of the day, I need you to hear this. You really only have one life to master you. But the world has taught us and has conditioned us, to just be fine and to settle for the status quo. And I'm here to challenge that and to remind you that underneath these insecurities, underneath this doubt, underneath all of these limitations, that you are capable of much more, that you deserve much more, and that you're worthy of much more. But it's really these emotional and mental blocks that are preventing you from having it. You can change that. And that's where I say that it's, if anything, that's what my story teaches people. That is what my experiences of being living proof of being able to not only overcome, but to be able to completely sorry, I had to mute somebody. Transform my life to the place where I can now not only with confidence say that the work works. Hold on, let me mute somebody. Okay. Where the work works, and that you too can be able to break beyond these barriers. So I hope that you hear that, right? I share that because I want you to know that all of you are capable of more. And I can see that in you, but I know when we remove those limitations, I know that to be true. So have that in mind as we progress forward today, to not allow these limitations, these barriers, and this old conditioning to be the deciding factor anymore of the life you're going to live. So as we get started, Hopefully you have some paper and pen, okay? And if you want to take notes in the chat box, you can do so as well. If anybody wants to take notes there. I have some slides today, but I don't have a ton of slides today because I kind of just speak from the heart a lot when I'm teaching. So I follow my intuition, knowing that, you know, somebody here needs to hear what I'm about to say. So if there's something that's really powerful, don't hesitate to put it in the chat box. You can ask questions there as well, and I'll make sure to be able to get to them as much as I can. The goal with today is to make sure that this is applicable to you. Like if you're watching the recording, I'm not going to be able to help as much. But if you're live on this call, you have an opportunity to pick my brain. You have the opportunity to ask the questions that are real for you, that where your blocks and your limitations are. But I don't know what those are unless you ask. So make sure to put those in the chat box as well, okay? So if you don't know where the chat box is, you know, move your mouse a little bit. You should be able to, there should be something pop up on the top or the bottom if you're using Zoom. If you're on your phone, I think you swipe to the right or to the left, I think is what it is. If you know the answer to that, put it in the chat box. I'm always the host, and I know your screens are a little bit different to me. So if anybody wants to give some instructions to others on that, that'd be greatly appreciated. Okay, so the first thing I want you to either write down or to ask yourself is, how do you procrastinate? Let's be honest, okay? How do you procrastinate? Now, I got a chance to chat with a little bit with Kim, okay? She says she procrastinates in her business. Well, let's get more specific. And so, Kim, maybe if you have the ability to be in the chat box, you can answer this, right? But how do you procrastinate? What are you avoiding? Maybe you're avoiding calls, right? Making calls, or reaching out to people, attending groups, meetups, or networking groups or things like that. Maybe you avoid just mentioning your products or services. For some of you that's at home, maybe you're procrastinating in taking action as far as getting your house cleaned or organized, and you procrastinate on that regularly. Maybe you procrastinate in your fitness or nutrition, and that you avoid doing the things that you already know how to do. Most of us know how to be healthy, don't we? Let's be honest, right? We know how to be healthy, but a lot of us avoid doing the things necessary, like food prepping or buying the right, food. So we go for what's easy versus what we know is to be healthy. So where do you procrastinate? I want you to put this, if you're on the live call, please join me. Put it in the chat box now. Where do you participate? Where are you procrastinating? I'm going to type it in here. Okay. So where do you procrastinate is the very first question. Once you've identified that, now that's the easy thing, right? We're going to start off easy and we're going to take it deeper. The where is easy. Now the why is going to be a little bit more challenging. So the reason why it's more challenging is because typically the whatever the answer is that you say why can typically be blame or it's an excuse. Well, we want to get deeper than that, don't we? Right? We want to get beyond the first barriers, right? It's kind of like if you're going to break out of prison, you're going to have multiple barriers you're going to have to break through before you get to freedom. Not that I'm advocating for that, okay? Like I'm just using it as an example, right? We have to go through a lot of different walls before we truly are going to get to freedom. Well, when we really ask ourselves, why do you procrastinate? Okay, and I'm putting that in the chat box as well. But when you are asking yourself, why do I do this? If the reason is because I don't have enough time, all right, that's an excuse. That's a layer. That's a barrier, right? Though that might actually be true, it's still just a first line of defense that is most likely protecting you from something much deeper, especially if this is a reoccurring pattern. Okay, my suspicion is that if you're here, this is not the first time you've procrastinated on this issue. This isn't the first time that you've struggled with this. For most of us, it's a reoccurring issue, isn't it? So it's something that is constantly in our lives. We don't say what we're going to, or we don't follow through with what we say we're going to do. We're not motivated. We're just constantly dieting, up, down, up, down, up, down. We're consistent, inconsistent in business. Our house is clean, dirty, clean, dirty, clean, dirty, right? And though some of that is normal, all right, some of that is normal. What I'm saying here is that why of I don't have enough time is just a surfaced, it's like the first line of defense for something much deeper. Now, if you're like, gosh, I don't know what that is, hang tight. We're going to get to that, okay? But I just want to make sure to help you become aware that there's going to be multiple layers to the why, right? Like, what is the reason for this? And once you start peeling back those layers, okay, is that I'm going to ask you an even harder question. So if you're taking notes, right, these are the where, the why, and now we're going to talk about a deeper one. So we're going to start peeling back the layers. Okay, I don't have enough time. All right, well, if I make time, could I have enough time? Yes. All right. What else is my reason? Why else am I struggling with this? I'm afraid. Now that is deeper, right? That's deeper. So when we can really get to the fear, because the truth is when we avoid and procrastinate, 9 times out of 10, and I say 9 times out of 10 because there's no such thing as absolutes in the personal development world, but 9 times out of 10, there is an underlying fear that is present. Are you with me on this? Fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of maybe betrayal, fear of looking stupid, fear of failure, fear of success, fear of fill in the blank. All right? So when we really start to question, okay, well, why do I procrastinate? The real question that you want to get to, and here's the challenge, is what's the payoff? What's the benefit of me procrastinating? Some of you, I blew your mind, didn't I? Right? You're like, what do you mean? There's no payoff to this. It's just pain, Bonnie. It's just pain. No, there's a payoff. Okay? You don't do anything without a purpose. Hear that again. You don't do anything without a purpose. There's always a motive. There's a reason why you do what you do. Period. Okay? So we got to figure out what's the payoff, right? So what's the payoff? I'm putting that in the chat box for those of you taking notes, okay? So what's the payoff? Now, the payoff could be that you are, you're protecting yourself from that fear, right? So if it's the fear of failure, well, if I avoid and I don't do these things, well, then I really don't ever have to be challenged on whether or not I'm a failure or not. Even though you might feel like a failure because by not doing what you need to do, it's going to ultimately loop back around. But that could be what I call like the unreasonable or unrealistic reason, or the payoff is that you're trying to stay safe. You're trying to protect yourself from rejection or abandonment or the fear of those things. But when we can get to the payoff, when we can really get to an understanding of like, why am I doing this? What's the benefit from this? Now we're being honest. And the truth will set you free, okay? Like in the personal development world, it's the ugly, honest truth that 99% of us don't want to admit that'll set us free. Because who would ever want to admit that we're playing a victim? Nobody. Who would ever want to admit that we're being spiteful or prideful or that we're feeling weak or small or that we feel stupid or inadequate? Nobody, right? Nobody wants to admit that. But when we can become brutally honest with ourselves and we can separate that just because I'm thinking this doesn't make it true, it becomes a lot easier to be honest with yourself about these things, doesn't it? When we can admit to ourselves that I'm procrastinating because I feel that I'm inadequate or that I'm stupid or that I'm a failure, and I'm afraid that if I take action on these things, it's just going to prove that to me. That's honesty. And that'll allow us to change that because the logical side of ourselves knows that that's not true. The divine side of ourselves, right? And when I say divine, what I mean is that your heart of your heart, your soul of your soul, the underlying true nature of who you know you are believes in you. It's just all of the gunk that is attached itself and is encompassed our divine self that tells us otherwise. Society, family, history has all conditioned us otherwise. But underneath all of that, we know that we are capable of greatness. We know that we can do this. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. You're just looking for the right resources. So this is really where we have to start, okay? So this is where we have to really start, is to ask ourselves the right questions, is to start asking ourselves the right questions that is going to deliver to us the results that we're looking for. Because without the right questions, we're not going to be able to get to where we want to go. So this is what I call the track, okay? So we're going to learn 3 words today. So if you want to write these down, this is what you're going to write down. Ready? Track, T-R-A-C-K, pack, P-A-C-K, and act, A-C-T, okay? So it rhymes. Track, pack, act, okay? It's a lot of acting in my analogy here, but these are the 3 things we're going to go through right now together. So where we already started is this tracking process, is where we've started to really question, okay, why do I do what I do? Why am I behaving in the way that I am? Why am I doing this? What is the payoff? And we're going to get beyond the excuse. You need to get beyond the initial barriers, the initial, reasons of why you say that you are a procrastinator. Then we really want to take it even a step further, okay? And so if you're just starting off at the self-discovery, just ask yourself those 3 questions, right? That might be challenging enough. But if you've done a lot of personal development work, well, we might want to take it a little bit deeper, all right? So I don't have a slide for this, so I'm going to doodle for you guys, okay? And forgive me that my doodling is going to be freehand. So if you're like, holy crap, that looks like, just sloppy, just bear with me, okay? So for those of you who are really looking to take this deeper, okay, you're going to want to write this down. And I'm doing my best to draw here, okay? And yes, I graduated 3rd grade art class. Okay. All right, so let me explain what this is here, okay? So we have 2 different parts of the brain that are kind of operating simultaneously. We have our subconscious mind, and then we have our conscious mind. So in the tracking process, we want to go beyond just the conscious mind, because the conscious mind actually only has about 20% of control or 20% of power. It's not as influential as a lot of people lead you to believe. The powerhouse of the mind is actually the unconscious or the subconscious mind. Now, the subconscious mind is a little bit trickier. It's a lot harder to be able to gain access to. And this is why I say, like, if you're just starting, ask yourself those 3 questions, right? The where, the why, and the what's the payoff, right? Because that's really in the conscious mind, and that's going to give you enough intel to start getting you started in the transformation. But at the end of the day, there's always an underlying influencer that is fueling the repetitive cycle. So if you're one of my, personal dev masters, okay, that is really struggling with this, and it's just like, okay, I've done a lot of this work, and yet I'm still sabotaging, that's because we've done a lot of work that may be in the conscious realm, but we haven't taken it to the unconscious to really figure out what the core motive is. Now, I'm going to briefly talk about this, but for those of you who are really interested in understanding this on a much deeper, more complex level, I want you to get a copy of my book. The book is called True to Your Core, okay? True to Your Core, Unlocking the Subconscious Beliefs That Wreak Havoc on Your Life. You can get it on Amazon, shipped in 2 days. It's going to be at your door, printed and shipped at your door. It's only $15, okay? Best $15 you're ever going to spend. It's like 3 lattes, okay? But that's going to help you on this, understanding this on a much deeper level. So I'm going to teach you a basic understanding of it now. But if it's really kind of starting to kind of spark something, or it's really starting to kind of, shift something inside of you, take it a step deeper and investigate further. That's part of the track, okay? We need to start tracking the reasons, tracking the behavior, tracking an inward understanding. Without this level, okay, without this investigation, the other steps are not going to work. The other steps aren't going to work. If you don't have a core understanding of the why, and I'm talking on a deep core level, you're going to repeat this at some way. Something will trigger it to repeat it, and you're not going to want to do that, okay? You're going to just keep reliving it, and you're going to feel frustrated. So let me explain this now, all right? Let's see if I can change colors. Look at this. I'm getting super creative here. Okay, so here, if you're looking at my screen, okay, we're drawing out the BTFA. Now, if you're on your phone, sometimes it doesn't allow always to be able to see the written drawing. That's okay. Again, we're going to have this recording, and you can just skip forward to this part so you can really get access to this. So the action, or in this case, inaction, this is the result. It's kind of the end of the line. It's the expression of what has been spinning or spiraling in the inner world. So the procrastination is the outward representation of an inward issue. Let me repeat that. The procrastination is an outward representation of an inward issue. So this is where we have to start tracking what's happening in the inner world that is continuously causing to have this expression in the outer world. Are you following me? I mean, if you have questions, put this in the chat box, okay? But the procrastination is just a result. So in the tracking phase, we need to start reflecting inward to have a better understanding. So the feeling is the F, and T is the thought. This is everything we can track in the conscious mind. If you paused right now and asked yourself, what are you thinking? I bet you can really capture your thoughts, can't you? Now, the tricky thing is that you have, they say, between 60 to 80, I've heard to 120,000 thoughts fluttering through your mind a day. It's a lot of thinking. In fact, that's so much thinking that it's impossible for you to catch all your thoughts. But what we're doing here is that we just want to track the thoughts that are specific to the outcome that does not serve you. So now it's kind of like we're narrowing down the search, right? Narrowing the search criteria to very specific parameters. So what you want to begin to do is say, okay, I'm procrastinating. Let's say I'm using Kim because she was the only one I talked to. Where maybe you have call reluctance, right? So the result is I'm avoiding making the calls. So you want to just pause. Now, here's the thing. You really want to get into your body for this. So before you start this process, maybe you need to close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths. You need to just pause for a moment so we can center into your body. Now, what can help you do that is just placing 2 fingers right over your heart. And you just breathe. And then you ask yourself, okay, what do I feel when I'm about to make calls? Maybe you feel afraid. Maybe you feel anxious. Maybe you feel worried. Maybe you feel inadequate. Maybe you feel frustration. I don't know. What's the feeling? So once you've identified those and you write them down, okay, then you're going to ask yourself, all right, what thoughts have I been having or am I thinking to cause me to feel this way? What thoughts have I been having to cause me to feel this way? Well, the thoughts could be that I'm only going to bother them, so why try? The thoughts could be nobody wants to hear about me. The thoughts could be that I'm a failure. I'm weak. I can't do it. I'm not capable. I'm stupid, right? What are the thoughts that you have? So this is the conscious tracking process. Once you identify the thought, all right, so because remember I said track, pack, okay, tracking and packing. We're gonna send those thoughts a packing, and I'm gonna teach you how to do that on the next slide, okay? So I'm gonna teach you how to change them in a moment, but for right now, we're just tracking. We need to start to track, all right, what thoughts are fueling the feelings and driving the behavior, okay? Without that understanding, we don't have the ability to change that, okay? Awesome. So Kim, oops, I gotta click on this mouse here. Sorry, I didn't mean to doodle on my screen. Good. So this is connecting for you. Good, good, good. All right. Now, this is the process, like I said, anybody can do. Now, if you're a Mind Fu master, now I say Mind Fu masters are people who can do Kung Fu for the mind, right? This means we need to take it a step deeper. We need to go just a little bit deeper. And we need to start to understand what in the subconscious mind, okay, is influencing all of this stuff in the first place, especially if it's a reoccurring thread, a reoccurring pattern. So if there's something, so if this has been repeated, okay, you constantly struggle with this, there is typically a belief, something you believe to be true about you or the world or the people in it, that is so ingrained in you that it's just kind of a common or a normal, it's like unconscious way of thinking that is driving the thoughts and feelings in the first place, because the thoughts don't exist by themselves, okay? Especially if they're repeated thoughts. Those thoughts come from what we believe and what we perceive. So there's a good chance that there's a belief in the mind that says that you believe about yourself, that you're a failure, that you're weak, that you're not good enough, that you're incapable, that you're unworthy, that you're not lovable, that you're stupid, that you're, I think I already said weak, but whatever this belief, and again, I have to preference this. The truth will set you free. Nobody wants to admit that. All right? I'm saying that with such conviction. Nobody wants to admit that. But if it's true, even to 3% or 1% in the mind, this is what is the undercurrent that is influencing all of these surface level thoughts and those thoughts are driving the feelings, which then are pushing us down into these behaviors that don't serve us. So if you truly want to end the cycle indefinitely, you have to track it back to find the belief. And once you find the belief, then you can start unraveling that from there. And now that takes a little bit more work. All right, that's a whole nother conversation. I'm just giving you this for my Mind Fu masters, okay? So if you're, like, okay, Bonnie, I've tracked my thoughts, I'm changing my thoughts, I'm sending them packing, I'm taking action, but but I'm still repeating this, then we need to really get to the belief system, all right? So even though we're not going to cover that in much depth today, you guys, there's an opportunity. You can jump 20 minutes on my call, 20 minutes with me. I'll give you guys a link before the end of this. You can get on my calendar in the next few weeks, and I can help you identify that belief, okay? So if you're like, ooh, I need to know what that is, then you're going to want to book that 20 minutes with me, okay? It's free. There's no strings attached, and I can promise you we can resolve that. We can get to it together, okay? But I gave you a lot of examples of the common ones, okay, that I'm stupid, I'm not enough, I'm unworthy. These are common beliefs that a lot of us are operating on that need to be resolved, and I can teach you how to do that as well, okay? All right, so let me move to the next slide here really quick. I think I'm going to leave my drawing up for you guys for just a minute. Okay, well, let me clear it. I'll do a new one. Okay. So now that we've done the tracking part, all right? So now we've done the tracking part. We've really tracked, okay, where are the thoughts? Where are my feelings? Okay, and how are these influencing? How are these, driving this result? Now what we need to do is we need to start sending these thoughts and feelings and beliefs a pack-in, right? Hold on. So I got a chat in the chat box. I want to make sure to answer it. Joanne says, I would need help to resolve some of my negative beliefs and already set a call with you. Awesome. Yay. I love calls. Hopefully it's in the next few weeks. I don't know if it is, but if not, I do have some availability in the next few weeks. You just let me know. I'm not traveling as much, you guys, which is awesome. I know it was really hard to get on my calendar for a while, but my travel schedule slowed down. So cool, Joanne. I'm so excited. I can't wait to chat with you. Oh, good. On the 10th, even better. So I look forward to seeing you then. Okay. So we are now talking about the packing, all right? So once we've tracked it, again, without the exploration, none of these other steps are going to work. You have to do the work. Now, the easiest way to track your thoughts, right, is that every time you find yourself procrastinating, that's the prime opportunity. You're in the middle of it. You're in the midst of the reaction or the result. To pause right there, to take 3 breaths, to tune in for just a moment and say, what am I feeling right now? And what thoughts do I have to cause me to feel this way? I'm feeling afraid. I'm thinking I can't do it. I'm thinking that nobody wants to talk to me. I'm thinking that I'm just going to be rejected. Okay, well, having those thoughts, if I keep these thoughts, then that's no wonder I'm going to feel this. And it's no wonder that I'm going to continue to behave this way. So the next thing we need to do is that once we've tracked them, is we need to send those suckers a packing. Okay, so we track and we pack, meaning that we need to send them packing. We need to pack them up and move them out. Take them to Goodwill, right? We need to get rid of this crap that is in our minds and that is holding us back because it does not serve you. And here's the best part. Are you ready for the truth? I'm going to give you guys a huge truth bomb. Are you ready? You have the power. That's right. You have the power to change this. There's no thought and there's no belief that exists that you are not capable of changing. You are capable of changing any thought or any belief that does not serve you. Doesn't that feel empowering, right? I mean, feel that in your solar plex. Like, reclaim that power, ladies and gentlemen. I see a couple of you on here, okay? Reclaim that. Recognize that you have the power to change this. Now, the reason why I emphasize that so much is because I cannot tell you how often all of us, guilty, okay, all of us will allow our thoughts to be the determiner of the decision. We allow our feelings to be the determiner of the feeling or of the decision. We allow these beliefs and these thoughts and these feelings, which we have direct control over, that we have direct control over, to guide and drive our decisions. When we can remind ourselves, okay, of this key component, are you ready? You're going to want to write this down, this key point. 3 words. It's my choice. It's my choice. When we are reminded of that key thing, so maybe you need to put that on a sticky note and stick it next to your computer, or Kim, put it right next to your telephone to remind you that it's my choice to be afraid of this, to think negatively of this, to feel inadequate about this, to think that nobody wants to talk to me, or to think something different. Now, just by reminding yourself of that is going to reclaim that power a little bit. It's going to put it right back in your gut, right back in your solar system. And it says, yes, now what is your choice? Well, it's either to continue to think this way, which you know doesn't serve you, or to send those thoughts packing. All right? So here's how we send those thoughts packing. It's pretty simple. 2 parts. All right? There's 2 parts. Number 1 is that you have to start with acknowledging whatever the fear or insecurity is. Now, this is going to seem counterintuitive. A lot of people want to fight or stomp out or suppress or to defeat or to conquer their fear. When your fear isn't the enemy, all your fear is, all right, is an opportunity. Your fear is is a warning, right? It's just saying, hey, there's something off. There's a threat here. And instead of getting angry or feeling weak or allowing that fear to control us, when we can begin to acknowledge that fear, to see that fear, and to say, thank you. Thank you, fear. Yes, it is possible that this person I'm calling might reject me. Yes, it is possible that I might fail with this. Now the fear has been heard. Okay? Your inner self, right, that is just designed to protect you has felt heard. And sometimes it's all it needs to calm down. It just needs to be acknowledged. It just needs to say, yes, you're right. That is a threat. That is possible. Now, this is how you send it packing, though, is you need to give your brain options. Did you hear that? Is you need to give your brain options. Because what happens is the fear will conduct or conclude a story. It's going to come up with one story. And that story is the worst case scenario. That story is going to be your failure, your imminent doom. It's going to be the end of everything, you going bankrupt, everything failing, you being alone forever. Okay? That's the story. And so we just acknowledge, yes, that is possible, right? We have to acknowledge, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what the future entails, but yeah, that could happen. That is one possibility. Maybe it's the extreme, but it is possible. But what else is possible? And we give our brain 3 other options that maybe feel better to us. So 3 other options about making phone calls could be like the negative one is they're going to reject me, or they're going to leave me. What are 3 better ways I can think about this? So we say, yes, fear. That is possible. They could, because they could. But it's also possible that they might want to join my team. It's also possible that they might be very interested in what I have to say. You know what else is possible? Maybe they're not interested, but maybe they want to be my friend. Maybe there's an opportunity, or maybe they know somebody who knows somebody, right? And so all of those are equal possibilities, because if you're predicting a future, right, if you decide that you're now a gypsy with a crystal ball and that you know everything and you can see everything, why not see something that feels good, right? Because if you're making up the story, you might as well make up one that feels good to you, all right? So this is how we send it packing. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, let me see here. I got a couple people in the chat box here. Yep, then the fear shuts it all down. Oh, hi, Chelsea. Good to see you, gorgeous. I so adore you. Or connect you. I don't know what that last part meant. Much love. You're welcome. So it says, yeah, so yep, the fear will shut itself down. Yeah, once we acknowledge it, because again, the fear is, or they're going to want to connect with you. Thank you, Chelsea, for clarifying. The fear, it just needs to be acknowledged, all right? And then once it just feels heard, it's going to slow itself down. But the problem is a lot of times that we don't acknowledge the fear. We're going to ignore the fear, so it gets louder and louder and louder until we can't take it anymore, until it's so loud that it becomes the dominating force of the decision. But again, that's just the feeling combined with some of these thoughts that once we just pause for a moment, we first investigate, we track what these are, we can acknowledge that and send those thoughts a packing and say, this does not get me the outcome that I desire. This does not get me the outcome I desire. So we have to align, hear this, you have to align the inner world with the outward results that you desire to have. Did you catch that? You need to align the inner world with the outcome of the desire you want to have. So if the desire is motivation, then we need to align our inner thoughts. Like, what do I need to think and what do I need to feel so I'm motivated, right? And for many of us, especially in business, you need to connect to the higher reason of why you're doing what you're doing in the first place. The reason why I don't procrastinate when it comes to serving you and showing up on calls or doing Facebook Lives, and if you've noticed, if you've been a follower of mine for a long time, We are constantly and very consistently putting out content. I mean, you guys have been delivered a Mind Right Monday for 5 years running. We have like over 300 of those videos that have came out every single Monday. Now, why have I been able to be so consistent with that? Well, it's because I'm reminded about, why do I do these videos in the first place? Well, it's because I know that the outcome is that you are going to find something there is going to shift or change somebody's life. And that is extremely motivating. Now, does that mean that there aren't people out there that are judging or are negative about my video? No, they're out there. Every now and then we get somebody who comments and tells me that, I'm a bimbo, or that I'm, just should shut up and never talk again, right? Just super mean people, right? But, it's like I could either listen to those voices or I can listen to my inner voice, because I've aligned my inner world with the outcome I want to have, which I want to be motivated. I want to be consistent. And so I align my inner thoughts into knowing that I am doing and delivering something for the higher good of the people that it's reaching and connecting with. So you have to send whatever thoughts, whatever feelings that are not in alignment with the result you desire, packing. You got to just ship them out, okay? But it starts first with acknowledging them, because if we don't acknowledge that fear, it's going to get louder, it's going to get more dominant, okay? All right, so any questions about that so far before I take you to the last step? You guys are rock stars today. I'm so proud of all of you for being here, to staying on this call, for being with me today. Let's get to the final one, which actually is the easiest, okay? Because this is what we all are told to do, right? We're all told to take action, right? You need to act upon, you need to do something. But the truth is, you can't take action without the first 2 steps. Or you can take temporary action, but it's going to be short-lived, because it's not, if we haven't done the inner world, we haven't done the work to transform the inner world, so it's in alignment with the outward result that we desire, okay? So I always say it's an inside job. It always is an inside job. If you do not have a result in your life, if you do not have the finances, if you do not have the fitness, if you do not have the nutrition, if you do not have the clients, if you do not have the business, okay, these are all outer results. If you don't have the relationship, these are outward results of an inward issue. And like I said, there's a lot of investigation that happens, that we're investigating in the conscious, but then we got to take it a step deeper and really find the underlying motives, right? Because if you know that your brain is like it's a machine, okay? And that machine is just operating on instructions. Well, if we have faulty instructions in there, right? If we were conditioned through society or childhood or through past experiences to have this faulty conditioning, well, the brain doesn't distinguish the difference between faulty and functional operating systems. It's just going to run the program. So we have to be willing to take it even deeper. And that's where that self-mastery comes in, okay? That's a much deeper conversation, a much longer conversation to be able to transform, because that is in the core transformation, right? Of really changing the way your brain physically functions, so you have the ability to take action. Because the action is that, action can only really happen if we're in alignment with it. So to help you do this, okay, so let's say, for example, you did your tracking, you sent those negative thoughts of packing, now you have new thoughts. Well, those new thoughts, if they're in that moment, if they're not enough to get you to take action, well, maybe we need to generate a feeling to go with it. A lot of people don't realize is that you have a choice on how you want to feel, and you can generate a feeling anytime. Think about this for a moment. If you sat here for a moment and thought about someone who betrayed you, right? And I mean, really got into the memory, got into the thoughts and the impact that betrayal had on you, I bet you can feel really angry, right? I bet you could cause yourself to feel really frustrated. Well, same is true as if we put ourselves in a state of gratitude. And not only just thinking about something we're grateful for, but really appreciating it, really appreciating the impact that, that house or the house that you live in has in creating this stability and, is creating, just in a safe environment, and how greatly appreciative you are for that. And you really are thankful for the furniture, even though it might not be ideal, and just so appreciating that, gosh, I'm so glad I have a couch to sit on, and reminding yourself that not everybody in the world has this. I'm so thankful that I have electricity and internet and television, all these luxuries. Oh my gosh, air conditioning. Right? And when we really get into that deep appreciation, I bet you could feel fulfillment and satisfaction. So the same thing is true when it comes to, let's say, motivation, right? Is that we really just need to get into a motivated feeling. Well, an easy way to do that is if you go on YouTube and you just type in like inspirational or motivational video, right? People have put together these monologues that are, 10 minutes, 5 minutes. You can find them that are 30 minutes long, that are like these different quotes of these different, really impactful or inspiring people like Oprah and Tony Robbins and Gandhi, and all of these people saying and doing things that is coupled with music. And all of a sudden you just feel like, I can accomplish anything. I have the power, right? And you just feel so alive. And all of a sudden, now take action. Because you not only got your thoughts in alignment, but now you've got your feelings in alignment. And the combination of those things is going to drive an action like nobody's business, okay? So hopefully that has helped with these things. As I said, I always try to keep things simple. So we're going to track, pact, and we're going to send things, and we're going to start to act. We're going to start taking action in our life in the right, what Tony Robbins calls the peak state, right? We're going to get in the right state of mind to take action. So as I promised, let me put a link in the chat box for all of you guys. If you're interested in really discovering that subconscious element, really understanding your patterns of how this may apply to you, I want you to grab 20 minutes on the calendar with me. So if you have the ability to write this down in the chat box, okay, I'm putting it in the chat box. Here's the link. You can click it, get on my calendar in the next 2 weeks because I have some availability. And we can talk about taking this deeper. Now, if you're not on your computer, all right, and you don't have the ability to grab that link, just send me an email. All right, you all got on this call through email. Just reply to the email. All right, thank you, Jaya. She said it's totally worth it. Apply to the email. And just say, can you send me the link for Bonnie's calendar? And my team will send you the link, you guys. It's really easy. So no excuses. Do not procrastinate. All right? Do not procrastinate taking action if you want to get deeper on this. If you really want to understand this on a much deeper level, just grab it. 20 minutes. It's, like I said, it's free. Anybody who has ever done this work has absolutely, we've gotten to the core of it. We're able to resolve it. Let's see. So Mandeep, hello, my friend. Good to see you. He says, have you come across scenarios where the fear causes you to do things that do not serve you? Yes, 99% of the time. How do you work with such fear and prevent that action from taking place? Okay, so Mandeep, that is like what I was talking about with the fear, okay? If you weren't on for the whole video, go back and watch the section. I think I was talking with the slide with number 2 about sending it packing. How we have to do is we have to really pause first, okay? So once the fear is taken action, all right, we need to create space. So you guys, so when fear is big and very dominant, right, especially when it feels like our life is threatened, all right, when I feel our life is threatened, we need to breathe. We need to create space between the feeling and the action. Taking a time out and breathing are 2 of the best gifts you can do. So when I say breathing, I'm talking about like counting back from 10. Slow, controlled breaths where you breathe in for the count of 3, you hold for the count of 3, and you exhale for the count of 3. When we can get control of our breathing, what we're doing is we're creating space between the feeling and the response, the reaction. Within that gap, once you've created the gap, Now you have the opportunity to make a choice. So, but without that gap, especially if it's going quick from feeling to reaction, right? Without that gap, you're just going to continue to repeat the reaction. So how you can shift that. So sometimes before you can get to that space where you are, where you're shifting the, where we're acknowledging our fear, right? Sometimes we need to interrupt the pattern. So after breathing, maybe what you do, and this is going to sound so freaking crazy, but you're going to go with me on this, right? We're on a ride together here, is that you're going to want to maybe do 3 jumping jacks. Because what will happen is that it is so out of the realm, okay, of what is a normal response for you that the brain's like, I don't know what's happening. Are we working out now? Should I put on my gym clothes? What is happening, right? The brain goes into like circuit overwhelm because all of a sudden you just did something weird, right? So maybe it's not a jumping jack. Maybe it's doing a burpee or push up, or and I know those are physical activities, or maybe it's just to go for a walk, or maybe it's to put on a specific meditation song, or maybe it's to I don't know, spell supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, right? So it's got to just be something that is just really out of the realm of normal for you. So your brain is kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm fixated on something weird. So from there, now you've interrupted the pattern through the breathing. We've created space. We've interrupted the pattern. And now you can start to acknowledge the fear, and we can send the fear packing through giving it some other scenarios. Okay. So hopefully, Mandeep, that has helped a little bit. All right. Chelsea says, do something different to get different, set up a call ASAP. Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. Kim says, thank you. Lots of information. I'll schedule a call. Yay. Thanks, Kim. I can't wait to see you. You're welcome, Mandeep. And Jaya says, reprogram and direct. Yes. Okay. Perfect. So I think she was answering. Okay, I will open it up. I'm going to stay on for a few more minutes because my next appointment is late, which is okay. It's my lunch delivery, so I'm totally... My assistant just sent me a message. She's like, I'm at Panera. I'll be there in a second. I'm like, cool. All right, I'll spend a few more minutes with you guys. Does anybody have any questions? You want to pick my brain now? Unmute yourself. Put it in the chat box. Now's a great time. Anybody? Or you could just say hi. Okay. So in closing, if you still want to unmute yourself, do it. But in closing, I want to leave you guys with these final thoughts. You need to take a minute right now, maybe 5 minutes, and you're going to write down what is the number one thing you've learned from this. What is your takeaway? And then number 2, what is the number one thing I need to work on moving forward with this? So what is your big takeaway? What is your big nugget? Without writing it down, just hearing something, and I mean this, it doesn't get cemented in the mind. But when you write something, now all of a sudden, it takes it just from this intellectual and it brings it into the physical. Now, of course, in 6 weeks, you're probably going to forget it unless it's repeated, unless we start taking action on it. But this is why I want you to take 5 minutes to just reflect right now. Like, what is your big takeaway? What is your nugget? And what do you need to work on? When you can do these 2 things, now all of a sudden, you have an opportunity to actually move beyond just this call. Because I want you to move beyond this call. Now, the people who are taking me up on that 20 minutes, you're moving beyond the call. That's awesome. But still take the 5 minutes to reflect on that. Okay, so Joanne says, I've been working on changing my thoughts, but have a problem with that and getting things stuck. Any suggestions? Well, we got a call on the 10th. So Joanne, you and I are going to get to that. All right. You and I are going to really get to figuring out what that problem is. So without more information, I'm not going to be able to answer that right now. But we're going to talk on the 10th. So just bring that question. Okay. Bring it forward on your call. We're going to talk about how we could end that cycle of self-sabotage for you and really just see where we're stuck, because everybody gets stuck uniquely. And we'll see where you're getting stuck and be able to remove that once and for all. Okay. So not to put you off, but I already know you have a call with me, and I need a little more intel to give you the best, most accurate advice. Okay? Cool. Anybody else? All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to unmute you all so you can say goodbye. I know some of you are in loud places, so just brace yourself. But I'm going to unmute so we can say goodbye. I love having you a part of my community. I'm so grateful that you spent your lunch hour with me today. We'll be back to serve you again. We do these master classes every single month. So we'll have the recording for you by tomorrow. Don't forget to share it with somebody who you know needs it. I want to thank you again for being courageous to being here. Grab that link on the calendar. For those of you watching the recording, just simply contact us. Email us out. The email is getinspired@bonniekelly.me. Getinspired@bonniekelly.me. It's very easy. So you have no excuses. Go ahead and make sure to let us know how we can serve you. All right. Here's the unmuting process. Unmute. Okay. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks. Have a good day.